to Nolan, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 694. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
You know, after taking a week off, I'm recharged and ready to go. Ready to podcast the hell out of this podcast.
He brings the awesome. It's I yield to no one.
I'm glad somebody is because I'm tired.
So I yield. But it's my own doing, so I can't really complain. He's the man who likes to set shit on fire. It's Matt.
I'm glad after taking a week off, I just, no, we're not gonna work.
Did the week off help anybody? Like, because I know, like, I was just wore out after Extra Life. Alex, I think you had something to do with work.
Yeah, no, I had to change my work schedule. I had to work an overnight to make sure that I could do some stuff in the early morning for one of our pets. So, yeah.
Yield, I think you were just happy to have a week off.
Yeah. I was here last week, so.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, like, no matter, even if you take a week off, there's still so much going on during the week that'll exhaust you that you think back and it's like, yeah, it was nice to have that week off recording, but, you know, if you still work and have to do a bunch of other shit, it still takes its toll.
And Matt, you were just happy to have a week off as well, right?
It's just, don't ever sell your home to try to buy another home at the same time. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done.
You know, I wanted to ask you this, and I probably should have done this off the podcast, but, you know, if you don't want to answer it, don't answer it. Like, it's got to be, like, extremely stressful to go, what if my house sells before we buy another house? Like, that's got to be, like, a main sticking point. Like, I don't understand how people, like...
I don't think you need to say that that's probably... I think you can say that is very much, very stressful because you're, you know... I don't know. Like imagine having an apartment and your lease is running out and you have to find a new place to live before you don't have a place to live.
Right, but the whole thing is like, when your lease is ending, you know when your lease ends and when you have to have another lease. When you're selling your house and trying to buy another house, it's the uncertainty of when is my house going to sell compared to when are we going to find a house. Like, both sides are uncertain.
Well, I mean, at some point, when you agree to sell a house to somebody, you know at that point it's when it's selling.
Except there's a couple factors that you need to be aware of, such as the closing date changes. I was telling Tricky right before, literally our closing date changed. It was supposed to be Friday, and the night before we found out that that's not going to happen. There's also things you could do, like we negotiated use and occupancy of our house. So basically we're leasing our house back to our buyers. But yes, this is probably the most stressful event I've dealt with in a long time. And in about 2 weeks, I'll announce it to everybody now, is, episode 695 will be my last show until we get everything in order, because I'm going to be without my computer and my setup for a number of weeks. And that's all dependent on if we actually successfully negotiate the house that we're trying to purchase. So it's like, I don't know. And every time something gets solved or we find a solution, something else comes up that fucks up the entire ordeal and it stresses you out again. So it's like a really big set of waves. It's like, oh, okay, good, oh, bad. Okay, good, oh, bad. So yes, Tricky. Kind of like what you were dealing with last year, but then you were able to solve on where you landed. For me right now, this is all still up in the air, which is very... And you don't even think about the little things, such as, well, if you don't have a residence, how are you solving car insurance? because you need to have a residence for car insurance.
That is very true. I didn't even think about that aspect of it.
Yeah, all these things you have to think of. And then the utilities, making sure the utilities are shut off on time, making sure all the bills are paid up through the end of your closing, making sure, you get where the money is and where it's going. It's just like I do everything on my desktop PC. And once that's packed away, a lot of my things that I have, like my saved passwords or browsing history for these bills and other utility things, it's all localized, which means I now have to figure out, okay, how am I getting things done after we move? So we're going to be in a hotel for a number of weeks. So yeah.
Vacation.
It's very stressful.
No, I'm sorry. I was doing a bad joke. No, because I was thinking about that because I was like, you can't really buy a new house until the old one sells because obviously you probably need the money. So you have to sell the old one, and then in the meantime, it's like, what if we don't find a new one in time? Like that's gotta. All right.
And that's why you try to close on the same day, which is in of itself a problem.
Yeah, but that's got to be a challenge in itself.
Yes.
All right. With that being said, we're gonna move on with the show. It's been a couple weeks since I've done this, so let's do our updated trophy count. I am level 972, total trophies of 35,055 with 1,001 plats. I figured out what my PSN profile 1,000 is gonna be. It's gonna be Yosi Yote. I'm gonna do that. Alex, your trophy, sir.
I'm assuming it's the okay, yeah, I got the right agenda. The one that Matt sent last week. Level 527, total trophy count of 10,974, and a platinum count of 201 in 200 games.
And yield?
Level 538. A trophy count of 11,561 and 222 platinums.
And Matt.
Yeah, this isn't going to change for a little while, so I'm still level 222 with 1,352 trophies and 0 plats.
Do you regret moving off to 1337?
Nah.
And Sid is level 899, total trophies of 27,654 with 862 platinums. Yield, do we have a rarity update?
Yeah. Let me get it. Oh, wait, that's not it. It's not there. There, that's where it would be. It would be under that. And let me scroll back to the top. It's tricky. Had to input his 2 cents worth into this.
I'm just trying to call what's fair. That's all.
Okay, here we go. Diego top scores in Division 1 with 255 points, taking him to 1,432. This moved him from 3rd to 5th to close the gap on Nitro, who's in 2nd, who scored 23 points and sits at 1,496. Kiwi still leads with 1,865 after 56 points this week. Diego's points may be inflated for now, with many of the ultra rares coming in Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which just released Friday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to his points over the next week or so. For now, that means he leapfrogs both Psychiatrist and myself, who scored 56 points and 68 points respectively, moving us to 1,373 and 1,329 in 4th and 5th place. Chicken 1-3 scored big this week with 215, taking him to within a point of me with 1,328, overtaking Red Beer Rick in the process, who drops to 7th with 1,164. There was significant movement at the bottom, with Mr. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 84 moving out of the Kenny Loggins zone with his 41 points this week, moving him to 586. Placing him in the regulation zone is California Wayne, who scored 16 and is at 585. Tricky remains dead last with 320. He scored 11 this week, but missed out on his spam points.
Bullshit.
Waterfields won. Well, depending on when you got your spam points and when he did his update,
I did it 20 minutes after his update.
well, then that's why you didn't get them.
Yes, I know.
Waterfields 1 is the other contestant in the bottom 3. He didn't earn any trophies this week and scored 5 legacy points to get him, to 400 to 401. Get him behind 400. Oh, okay. He got over 400 to 401. Top 5 from last week all held on to their positions in Division 2. Frit Hellfire 90 still leads the way with 1,060 after an 18-point increase. Rolling on the floor, laughing out loud, Z moved to 903 after scoring 39. X Nightmare 17 is still hanging on to third despite being trophyless since August. He currently sits at 447. It's tight from 4th to 7th. Dupes 25 moved to 422 with a 10-point week. Murray 2011 closed the gap with his 27-point and sits 2 points behind on 422. Alex moved up again. He is now 6th with 415, scoring 42 this week. He exchanged places with the Grounded Gamer, who had 18 points and is on 407. President Darrow top scored Division 2 with 43 points, including earning his first plat since January, which you can hear about in the plat of the week. He moves to 332 and 9th, 4 points behind the Big Don. Brain 76 and Dodge Williams swapped places, with Dodge dropping to 11th and the Brain moving to 10th. Thanks to his 25 points this week, there wasn't a huge amount of scoring from 12th down, with contestants occupying these spots just scoring single figures. Rarest trophies of the week go to 5th California Wayne with the W, NBA 2K26 at a 5.17%. Pee-wee's in 4th with Power is Life. Power is Life to Our Kind. And Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt at 5.08%. Rolling on the floor, laughing out loud, Z brings in 3rd at I'm back and brought a friend. Rezogun at 2.05%. Chicken 13 gets 2nd with Holy Knockout Batman. Injustice God Among Us at 1.83%. And first this week is Edge with I Heard You Like Upgrades, and Call of Duty Black Ops 7 at 0.13%. Winner for October's Plat of the Month is Edge with Cuphead with 9 votes.
Yeah, I was upset that I didn't even get nominated for Plat of the Month. It's all right. All right. I am going
Did
to...
you plat a game last month?
Yes, Hellblade. For my 1000th.
Apparently, they did not consider that a worthy platinum.
I know. It's just Tricky hate. That's all it is. All right, we're going to throw it across the pond.
Also, you platinumed that game before, Tricky.
I did not.
Okay. I thought maybe I'm confused. I got confused because you played it on 2 different occasions, so I thought you had gotten. But you're going to try to get the second platinum in that.
Eventually.
Yeah. That was where I got
upset. That was originally going to be my 1,002nd platinum to make my 1,000th on PSN profiles, but I'm just going to go see you today. All right, let's throw it across the pond to Sid.
Hello again, my friends. It's Sid with another Platinum update. I do realise I've missed a couple of weeks, so some of them aren't going to get a shout out because the list would have been way too long, but I'm going to go from this week and see if I can knock it up for a change. So first off, we have Raise Havoc with Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon on the PS4. Great game. It was the only one of the Spyro trilogy remasters that I didn't actually finish. I may get around to it again one day. Then we
You
have
can do it, believe me.
Psychist with Collab Ball on the PS4. Don't quite know what that one is. Then we have Resident Daryl with Dying Light, The Beast. I've not played this one. I think it's a good game, from what I've been told. But I didn't really like Dying Light, to be honest. I never played Dying Light 2. Then we have Affectatious Donk with Farm Together 2 on the PS5. And next up we have Redbeard Rick with Resource Crawl, I think it is, on the PS4. Road Rage on the PS4. I remember Road Rage on the Mega Drive, or Genesis as you guys called it. Then we have Misa Goatsalot with Tinykin on the PS5, and Cat Quest 2 on the PS4, and then The Sexy Brutal on the PS4, which, if any of you are interested in, is the nickname I give to myself at the weekend. And the last one this week, guys, is Dodge Williams with Power Wash Simulator 2 on the PS5. So it's a tough call for me this week, guys. I think I'm going to go Power Wash Simulator 2 because I really enjoyed the first one. I'm not sure what the platinum is like on Power Wash Simulator 2, but obviously it's doable. So yeah, hopefully, guys, I can keep up with the weeks. Housework and things have been getting in the way, but hopefully I can get there. So yeah, hope you're all okay, and I will talk to you again next week, and keep getting those trophies, guys. Bye.
Matt, I got some breaking rumor news. Just want to get your live reaction. Mark Hamill is apparently playing the King in the Legend of Zelda movie.
Damn, good cast.
It's a rumor now. Nothing's confirmed. It's from one of those shady sites, so I don't know if it's true.
I mean, here's the thing. King Rome, and in the latest adaptations and games, has been like a very portly, big guy, Mark Hamill, which is not. So, I don't know. I mean, listen, guy's got the acting chops. I think he'll be fine. If
Well,
true.
I mean, even going back to what the Sage of Light in Ocarina of Time, he was a Rauru. He's a very large fellow. So, I mean, not as big as a Darunia, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, if they cast him as Darunia, I'd be like, maybe a better choice out there.
Oh no, I wasn't suggesting that, but I was more speaking to the Sage of Light. Now he was an elderly, also larger fellow.
Yeah.
Who I always assumed was the king, but since you never saw the king, you just saw Zelda. I don't know. Maybe that's what
you saw the king in A Link to the Past.
But Ocarina of Time, I'm talking. It was years after that I played Link to the Past, but Ocarina of Time, I'm talking about. You never see the king in that game, because you look when you're at the castle, when they're doing a storyboard, you see Ganondorf bowing to somebody on his knees, but I don't think you ever see the king. You only see Zelda.
Correct.
All right. We're moving on. I think that's everything. Oh, what we're playing. Yield, we'll start with you, sir.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Coming
up to chestnut roasting season. By the way,
I'm extremely tired. Like, there's like 4 or 5 times today I said I was gonna go take a nap before the show, and then I was playing Ghost of Yote. I was like, all right, I'll do one more mission. And before I knew it, it was 5:45. I was like, oh, no nap
that
for
usually
me.
doesn't work out too well in open world games.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, because I'm running from one place to another, and all of a sudden the golden bird would come down. It's like, oh, go get this. All right. Sorry, Yield. I said what you're playing. Go ahead.
You're done? Okay. I've been played some Rocket League, been dabbling around. Did you get
all those Simpsons rewards, Yield?
I did get all the Simpsons. I got the Simpsons reward from the little event. I didn't buy the car or anything like that, but I did get all those.
Yeah, the free stuff was good enough. I enjoyed the free. I thought this was sometimes it's very hit or miss. Like they've run some this year. They've had a Turtles event and a Power Rangers event, which I would say were not very good. But then they've had a Star Wars event and then the Simpsons one, which I think had pretty good free rewards. So very hit and miss. But I thought this was a pretty good one overall.
I agree. I've been playing some West of Dead. I fired up Sniper Elite 4 and played through the first level. I've been spending a lot of time lately in Dust and Neon, which I have gotten 4 of the 6 bosses dead, so I've got 2 more to go. And I've spent most of my time in Recreation, which is, like I said before, which is a like Burnout Paradise. So if you like Burnout Paradise and you want more of that, go pick up Recreation, because it's well worth it if you enjoyed Burnout Paradise.
Anybody really enjoy Burnout Paradise?
I did.
I did.
I really like that game.
I missed the closed tracks of Burnout 3 and Revenge.
Never really played those. But yeah, that's it.
They're tricky.
Yeah, I'm here. I was just waiting. I didn't know if Field was done.
I said that was it.
All right, Alex, what have you been playing, sir?
Well, I guess Sid already let everybody know what I've been playing. A few games to talk about. Yes, as Sid said, I got the Platinum Trophy in Spyro 3. I also cleaned up the Platinum Trophy in Spyro 2. So I bulldozed all 3 of those games. Took me about 40 hours, maybe a little over 40 hours. But yeah, I now own all the Spyro Platinums. And, you know, as you go on in that series, I think they get a lot more creative with the levels. Cloud Spires in the 3rd game definitely comes to mind. So by the 3rd game, I think there's a lot more imagination and creativity, and the levels are just all you know, generally better designed, which you would expect as the game series goes on. But that's a game series that I would say gets better and better. Although the first game is, I still think, really, really good. They do a few things that annoy me in the 2nd and 3rd games, where they have like backtracking segments where in the 2nd game you have to get a certain power from a future world that you need to complete things and objectives in the world you're currently in. So you'll have to say, go to the next world, get a power up or an ability, and then come back to finish off a few things in the previous world. And they do that in Spyro 3 as well by unlocking characters. You will have a character you have to unlock in, say, the 3rd world, but you'll need that character to do certain objectives and get certain eggs in the 2nd world. So there's a backtracking element that I don't necessarily think it's more annoying than sensical. I don't really think it makes a lot of sense for Spyro, but I mean, in the end, game's still good, but for me, I just was not a fan of the backtracking stuff. And also, there were a few different things, like in the 3rd Spyro game, they made you play as different characters. Some of the stuff's okay. A lot of it's just a diversion away from Spyro, which is more fun to play as. And there's segments where you're skateboarding. There's segments where you're swimming underwater with Spyro, where as a dragon, you can't fucking breathe fire underwater, which is really annoying. So despite the fact that the 3rd hub world in Spyro 3 was maybe my favorite hub world in that game, the underwater stuff I just wasn't a fan of, because again, you're a dragon, you want to fly, you want to run, you want to shoot fire. So that just seemed to kind of neuter Spyro in a way that I wasn't cool with. But I mean, overall, again, I'll say it, you know, ad nauseum. The games still really hold up really well. They're a lot of fun. Spyro's an endearing character. They look really, really good. It's one of those game series where, yeah, you see remakes and remasters of stuff all the time, but this game, being from the PlayStation era in the 90s, it really did deserve this treatment. And it you know, we're going on 8 or so years since these came out, but everything still holds up and the games still look great. So I'm glad that they gave Spyro this treatment, and Toys for Bob did a good job with the compilation. The other game that I have started since I got my all 3 Platinum Trophies in Spyro is Carrion. It's a game that I talked about that I purchased for $4 nonetheless on one of the recent sales. It's the game where you're the monster and you're attacking everybody, and as you go along and you devour people, you grow bigger and bigger. And yeah, just like a classic monster movie, like you are in a facility at first and you are trying to find your way out, mowing through every human you find. And even there's some puzzly elements, like you gain powers as you go along, and if you get too big, you kind of lock yourself out of using certain powers. So you have to find these little, like, I don't know if they're tainted pools of water or it's like toxic sludge, but you have to like split your biomass so that you become smaller and you can go finish a certain objective, because as a smaller creature, you have access to a power that you didn't have as a larger creature. So you go to the objective and then you go back to the pool and you pick up all your biomass and you become big again. So there are puzzly elements to it that have been fun so far. You know, it says on the I feel like I've only played it for like an hour, hour and a half, and it says like I'm 33% through the game. On the if you play on PlayStation 5, you'll know what I'm talking about, where it gives you like on the PlayStation home screen, it'll give you a little completion like percentage with like the little bar graph or like steps or whatever. So I don't know how much longer the game is, but I mean, carrying through humans, and the humans get progressively harder. At first, it's just scientists who run around and they're well, I guess they're scientists, but they're unarmed and they're easy pickings. And later you get like people with guns and people with shields and guns. So it does also up the difficulty with the soldiers or the people, the enemies as you go along, the humans, I should say. So, but no, having fun with the game. I know it is a shorter game, but it's also very unique as you get to just play as this monster and rampage around. Very much different from like, you know, playing Rampage or War of the Monsters. So kind of like almost like a Metroidvania itself, where you can kind of get through certain areas, but then you'll progress the game and you'll be able to go back to old areas where, say, there's like a grate you couldn't break before, that then you could now access a new area. So and it's a 2D game that looks like, you know, it's from the, you know, very pixelated. That just gameplay kind of feels right. Whereas like Spyro, it never really fit, and I guess it's just been kind of ingrained in me with Super Metroid and with Symphony of the Night, where you have these side-scrolling games, and I guess, you know, 2D side-scrolling or like up-scrolling, you know, games that just the formula works for, and in a 3D setting, I just don't really, and just for the gameplay style that Spyro had, I didn't think it fit as well. So, but no, Carrion's a good game, and as far as the Platinum Trophy goes, most of the stuff is pretty easy, it seems. It's mostly story progression trophies, a few combat trophies, and then a few collectible trophies, maybe 3. But yeah, 20 trophies, 21 trophies, I can't remember. But overall, pretty easy platinum, and from what I've read, and a pretty enjoyable game. You know, very unique. So, and you can probably find it cheap on a sale. So if you haven't played Carrion, keep your eyes out. It's I think it's definitely worth a try.
My sad note about that game is, with all the powers you get, there's one power, and I'm not going to spoil it, but
there's a web slinging power. Do you remember, Matt? There's a web slinging power where you become Spider-Man. Kind of.
Yes.
Not really.
Yes.
You can grab you can grab levers with it. You can't really swing it though.
But you get it towards the end of the game. You don't get like a lot of chances to use it, and it's a really fun power. So you'll see when you get there. But yes, it's definitely a shorter game. I think I would love to see them make a sequel at some point to further build on it, because it has so much potential, especially in this type of genre. You know, you talk about games like Dead by Daylight or 7 Days to Die, where, you know, asymmetrical, one of the people is playing the monster, so to speak. But this one is the art style, the capabilities of the monster, how the NPCs react. I had a blast with it, and I'm glad you're getting through it. I'll definitely need to talk once you get to the end.
Yeah, and like you can just like you like basically eat people. You grab them with tentacles and you eat people, but like you chomp them in half and you can pick up the remains and just nosh on those. So it's a very gruesome. I mean, it's not like very detailed gore, but it's a very bloody game. Like you could go through rooms and you'll go back through them, and like after you've killed all the humans, and it's just painted in red. And it's just like, oh god dang, what happened here? But no, it's a fun game.
Grabbing a human and shaking them like a rag doll.
Yep. Well, you're chomping on them. You got the teeth. This monster's got teeth.
Boy, are their teeth.
All right.
But yeah, Tricky. I'm done.
All right. And Matt.
So doing more of Pokemon Legends ZA, I'm climbing the ranks. I'm up to like rank G or F or one of those. You start at Z. There's a couple story beats that make you skip some ranks, but I'm slowly climbing up. Continue to build my team. It's mostly fire Pokemon, as you can imagine, but some of them have secondary types, which helps me balance it out. there's points in the story where you have to go and solve what's called like a rogue mega evolution. If you remember, Pokemon X and Y introduced mega evolutions to the series. And since this game takes place in Lumio City, which is set in the world of X and Y, mega evolutions is kind of the big thing that's going on. So you go around and you have to fight the mega evolution Pokemon with your mega evolution Pokemon. And there's still a lot more of the story to go. And every time you finish something, like more wild zones open, and therefore you can get more Pokemon, or additional side missions open up. So there's a lot of fun I'm having with it, still continuing to build my team out, improving here or there. I also
I gotta ask you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick. Do you have a favorite Mega Evolution? 2 questions. First question: do you have a favorite Mega Evolution?
Yeah, it's gonna be freaking. Listen, it's Charizard, okay? It's simple.
Well, no, I was gonna say like of the new ones they introduced.
So far, Emboar has a mega evolution that's really freaking cool, and he like has a like when he evolves, he gets like a bigger form, but he has like a fire staff that he carries around with him. So that's a lot of fun.
Matt, you're no fun.
I know I'm no fun. For those of you who are listening, MZ Nitro is in chat and said something about Tricky missing his favorite episode, number 666. And then Tricky timed him out in chat, and I untimed him out. Going back to your question, Alex, there's so many new mega evolutions. I barely have even cracked the surface on all the ones that you can see. So still a lot more to go. I'll update you.
Hopefully you've seen this one, the most meme worthy of all the mega evolutions. And I just have to ask because, it's been getting some rave reviews, but also it's one of those ones that's a very weird one. Mega Starmie, what are your thoughts?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. Maybe I might. Would you like me to send you a picture, or do you want to keep it like a...
No, please do. Yeah, I don't care very much about spoilers.
Okay. I'm going to send a picture of you to you, and yeah.
If it's a picture of Patrick from SpongeBob.
There very much have been people doing that meme, yes. But
nice.
No, I'll send you an actual picture of the thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, I have a lot more to go, and as you beat some of the mega evolutions, they actually give you the evolution stones for that Pokemon. You just have to still get the Pokemon out there. So it's still a lot to go on that aspect. Let's see. Here comes the picture, and it is holy shit. Yeah, that is a giant Starmie.
She got legs. What's that ZZ Top song, Legs?
Yeah, which is all sorts of wrong. It's about as wrong as Lot Bunny is when it was introduced to the game. If you know, you know.
Yeah, people could be getting weird.
Yeah. One thing I had forgotten was ever since I upgraded my PC, I never went back and I played more of Black Myth Wukong. And, being able to play that game at a much higher fidelity and smoothness without all the chunking and stuttering. Gameplay is very, very good. So I've been getting back in there. I'm just exploring more. It's weird. They must have made some challenges easier because I went in and I like two tried a boss that I was stuck on prior. It's like, okay, he was definitely harder when I played him back, last year. So I'm playing that. I played more Ball Pit. I actually finally beat one of the levels. Now I have to beat it with another character to get enough gears to open up the next level that they have in the game. So I'm continuing that. Played more Silent Hill F. I got past a section, as is tradition seemingly with all Silent Hill games. I was in a school that I had to go through and find the keys, get to the next area, and make sure I solved all the puzzles in there. It's really neat. It's got that atmosphere. Again, there's no link on this Silent Hill to any other Silent Hill. but it still sufficiently has the creepy fog. And as you travel throughout the town continues to warp around you. And I'm starting to get some hints as to what actually is happening in the game. So I'm excited to continue playing that and see what else occurs. Playing more co-op Gloomhaven. If you don't know what that is, there was a board game by the same name that was released 6 or 7 years ago. It's one of those legacy games where as you play it, you actually like maybe destroy cards. You get to play the game essentially one time. So this is a game where you choose one of multiple different classes, you play cards, it's turn-based, and there's like, I think you start off with 6 classes and you can unlock up to 8 more as you play the game. And you have to strategize with your partners, and the monsters have a specific logic that they follow. So which ones they're going to attack, what actions they could take. And it's just a giant, massive, sprawling game. And I definitely recommend it if you like board games and dungeon crawling games. And finally, put a lot more time into Arc Raiders, which is the newest hit extraction shooter. And I'm playing it more with my friend Steve, and we have been having a lot of fun just searching around the worlds. There was a new event where the community had to contribute in-game materials to unlock like a new level. They did it even faster than the devs thought was possible, so the devs extended it out another day just to see if the community would continue doing what they do. Sure enough, they did. The new level is very claustrophobic, whereas the other levels have a lot of open air areas as well as some buildings. This is all inside like a development, and I don't know what it is, but everybody's very trigger happy in the game in this new level. You hear gunshots, you hear people moving around, breaking open containers and finding loot. And I don't know, like I just seem to be getting shot at a lot more. But luckily, my buddy and I are very on our game, and most encounters where people start shooting first, we end up winning. There's a couple exceptions, but it's a lot of fun. Tricky, like you said, if you enjoy the Dark Zone in the Division, this is very much up your alley. So definitely look into it. It's crossplay, and I've been having a blast with it, all for $40. A hell of a lot better than me thinking about having spent $70 on Battlefield 6, which I haven't yet, just to be clear. That's all I've been playing.
Oh, and all I've been playing all week is Ghost of Yote, and played a little bit of The Division. The finale came out for the season, so that was cool. And then I saw they did a PTS, which is called the Public Test Server, for the next season, and we're going to be getting allies in the next season. Hopefully it stays permanent, but I don't know if it's going to stay permanent. So, some exciting things coming for the Division, but mostly Ghost of Yote, which is why I'm so tired right now, is because I wanted to take a nap, and I kept going. One more mission. Oh, there's a gold. There's the bird. I gotta follow towards a hot spring. Yeah, that's all I've been playing. I was alerted by Daryl this morning that I could get 32 platinums and about 2,000 trophies for $6.99, so I downloaded those. Haven't played it yet though. Have you seen this phenomenon that's going on there? Anybody, guys? Yes? No? Maybe.
Sorry, I was getting ready for the news. So,
No. What is this spam that you were about to go down?
It's this company. I'm trying to find their name, but basically they've unlocked the ability where you go in and you buy their bundle, and when you buy the bundle, it unlocks all the games in the bundle, obviously, but it unlocks every PS4 and every PS5 game in every region, and you could download it straight. So in this one bundle, I downloaded, I think it was 32 games, and it's in every region. and most of them are crossplay. So if you get the PS4 version, you just gotta unlock. You just gotta start the PS5 version, and you unlock the trophies in all of them. Like the latest bundle, it's called the Nostra Games Epic Area Bundle, and yeah, they've done a couple of these already. I got like 200 spam games just waiting, and I paid maybe $10 total. It's pretty cool if you're into the spam market, which you guys are not. No feedback. I figured I guess
Yeah, well, you said we're not into that.
Well, I figured you guys would be
totally
mocking
don't
me.
care.
I figured you guys would be mocking me a little bit. At least Alex mocking me. No mock, Alex? Did we lose Alex? We must have lost Alex. All right, I'm going to throw it across to you, Matt, for the news.
All right. So we've got a bunch of news to catch up on since we were off last week. The first being, guess what? Delays. Both GTA 6 and Marvel 1943, you know, the game featuring Captain America and the original Black Panther, have been delayed, with Marvel 1943 being delayed to an unspecified time and GTA 6 into later fall 2026. And there's been a whole bunch of memes going around where it's like, and I think even some shared on the Trophy Wars page, where it's, you know, got my wife pregnant to take paternity leave for May of 2026, and then Rockstar delayed the game another 4 months. So sorry, folks. So just making you all aware of that's going on. But speaking of Rockstar, this article coming from Dextero, written by Callum Patterson, basically, you know, right around the time that the delay was announced for GTA 6, there was a whole lot of coverage regarding some workers at Rockstar who were let go, fired, terminated, whatever the term you want to use. But it's about 30 to 40 employees. And there's claims that Rockstar says the groups they broke some code of conduct, or they were violating company policy. And others, not on the corporate side, were saying that the employees were aiming a unionization effort. So there's a lot of back and forth going on as to what's going on at Rockstar. And then just after all this news broke is when Rockstar announced that they are delaying the game until the fall because they need more time to polish. So, you know, always somewhere the truth lies in between the 2 points. Tricky, we'll go to you first. What's your take on all this hubbub?
I gotta watch what I say because union stuff. I don't really know. Go to yield first. Let me get my thoughts together.
2 weeks to get your thoughts together, Tricky. Yield. What
yeah,
do you...
right. 2 weeks to get his thoughts together. It'd be interesting to know the dynamic as to why they were trying to unionize. I mean, my guess would be Rockstar's trying to push for more than what they're giving the employees.
Have you seen Rockstar?
No,
Would you try to unionize?
I mean, when you spent $8 billion on your next game, yeah, I'd kind of be like, well, where's my cut? I do find that really funny that there's comeuppance going on and then the game got delayed. So this is quickly turning into we're pushing into the Duke Nukem Forever space now. You know, it's coming out. No, we're going to push it. We got to polish it. So I just find it funny.
Okay.
All right. Alice, hold on. Alice, you got your audio going?
No, you got to give me a sec. Tricky, you just answer.
All right. Well, Matt, give me a quick recap of what you were saying, because I was trying to get Alex back up and going.
So basically, Rockstar fired a bunch of people, said that it was due to some level of malfeasance. Other employees are saying, or personnel are saying, that it was an effort to stop a unionization call. So, yeah, and then shortly after that, the game delay was announced. So we're just trying to figure out, what are your thoughts as to, is there any? I know the position you're in, and I'm trying to ask this in the most pertinent way. Ultimately, do you think this delay has any relevance to the fact that they had to release 30 to 40 people?
It's hard to say. And this was in London, right?
Possibly.
Yes. It was Take-Two Interactive London's headquarters. I know in the United States, it's illegal to break up a union gathering or a potential to start a union. I don't know if the same laws apply in Great Britain. I don't know that this was related. I did see something that saying that by the delay, Rockstar is losing like $3.2 billion, and that they'd rather lose that money than release a bad game because they have a reputation on the line and all this other stuff. When you see stuff like that, and then you see people were let go, like I don't know, because there's no way releasing that many people is going to recoup $3.2 billion. So those two can't be related.
But do we believe that they'd lose $3.2 billion on the delay? Do you think that maybe it's value, not assets?
Well, I could be wrong with this, but wasn't there reports somewhere saying that GTA 5 was making like $1 billion a month off their online?
I don't recall that.
I think I remember seeing something like that. Or maybe it was Fortnite. I don't know. I don't know. It's Rockstar has always beat their own drum, and when it comes to delays, if they can afford to take massive delays, especially when it comes to Grand Theft Auto. I forget the quote, but it goes, you release a good game, your last lifetime, or whatever. I forget the quote. You release a bad game, it stays there forever, but now you could patch it. But if GTA 6 comes out and it's broken in any way, they got to get this right out the gate, especially with how long this game's been waiting. We've been waiting for this game. I don't know that the two are related. It's hard for me to say that these 30 to 40 employees were fired because they were trying to get a union together.
Okay. I have a hard time believing that the delay is just because of polishing. Like it's 4 months is a long time, but also everything else that's going on with them, something speaks to something not being right. That's just my thought.
I mean, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a related article. I didn't go into it, but it says Rockstar Games reveals they fired over 30 GTX devs for leaking, quote, company secrets, end quote.
That's what I'm talking about, is that they fired people for that, where they're saying it was malfeasance and other people are saying it was due to a unionization effort.
All right. Alex, you good?
Yeah.
All right, countdown. 5, 4, 3,
3,
2,
2, 1. Tricky, and since you're editing, you might want to make a note of when this starts, so you know where to find that.
I already did. All right. Alex, what are your thoughts on all this?
What are your...
I'm sorry. Okay, Matt.
Yep, Alex, you've been kind of listening to all this in the background. What do you think?
So people can and will connect dots. People are always looking for answers, the how, the when, the why, the where. And when you have something like this with rumors of unionization, or I should say whispers of unionization, and then layoffs and then delays, it all kind of fits together in this puzzle that even if, things aren't related or they don't fit the way you think they should, people are going to connect, people are going to put it together, and they're going to try to put it together in the way that makes most sense. So could you see any of this stuff being true? Yes. I think that you could absolutely believe that people could get fired, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but could I believe that a company would try to fire people that were trying to unionize? Absolutely, especially in an industry like video games, which really hasn't had much unionization in the past. We're starting to see that gain more and more traction as things have gone on, especially with all the layoffs in the last few years. But could you also see that, leaks happen all the time? And could Rockstar have fired people for leaking stuff? You could absolutely think that that's the thing that happened. So as far as the delays go, very well it could be because of the loss of staff, but also when it comes to Rockstar, I don't know their exact headcount, but I would say that I'm not going to say it has a negligible effect, that many people being fired, but I will say that I think that with how much money this game cost, how large it is, and how much you have to Q&A test it and play test it and everything, and just trying to iron out everything, I would think that this delay was going to happen either way, because you have such a massive game with such high expectations. And remember that when the definitive trilogy came out for Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, people shit all over it because they thought it was lazy as hell. So with this game, I think the delay, things may have been exacerbated by the fact that you just lost the staffing, but I also think that this delay was always going to happen regardless because of everything that has just gone into this game, all the money, all of the work, the manpower. So you don't just throw a game like this out the door. It's going to take a while, even if it's already been in the oven for a long time.
Alrighty. And next article, guys, I'm actually going to skip just for the sake of time tonight, but the one following that, there's been a whole bunch of Concord news, believe it or not, where coming from Eurogamer, and this kind of goes back to the Stop Killing Games initiative, and the UK's House of Commons has debated the need for improved video game consumer protections as well as video game preservation. Basically, during the debate, they used Concord as an example, saying that people are buying games that studios are killing off. Now, Concord was an interesting example because Sony did refund everybody their money, but it was just brought back up as a point of companies are releasing product that they may not support, and consumers later down the line may be out that money. Basically noted that the video game industry provided both 7.6 billion and 75,000 jobs to the UK, but gamers still feel a deep sense of personal possession because they invest more than just money. It's time, effort, imagination, friendship. When a game shuts down without notice, that investment is lost. So the reason I bring this up is because another article came out basically saying that some of the game's original devs made custom fan-made servers that brought the game back online, and people are actually playing. They issued some videos that tell people, how to do it, how to connect. So for those of you that still have the game and have it installed, there was a way to play it. But now there's an unconfirmed rumor saying that Sony may have been issuing DMCA notices to the videos. But again, that's unconfirmed. We're still waiting for confirmation on that. But the fact that people still actually enjoyed this game, which is fine. People can enjoy the game. I said it looked bland, but other people obviously had their fun with it. And to have a community, especially a talented one, such as the former devs on the game, make it so that way other people can still play it is something. But if it's true that Sony is, trying to prevent people from being able to play the game, I think, for a dead IP, that's just a little overboard, if true. That being said, Tricky, what are your thoughts on the fact that fan-made servers are trying to come back online and give people access to a quote-unquote dead game?
I'm good if people want to play the dead game. If it's not being hosted by Sony and they are aware that they're not going to get updates and whatnot, who the hell cares if to play the dead game? If somebody's paying for the server to go up so people can play this game, let them.
Sony, who lost a ton of money on that IP, they're never going to recuperate.
They gave up the moral high ground for everybody they lost that when they said we're not going to update this game anymore, we're canceling it, and we're refunding everybody's money back. They lost that right to have any claim to it once they did that.
No, they own the IP, Tricky. That's not at all true. You can't just
nobody's selling the IP. All they're doing is making a server for people.
They still own it. You can't use it as you want it when somebody else owns it. You just can't freely use an IP that you don't own. And Sony bought Firewalk, closed Firewalk, and they clearly would own the IP rights to this.
Right, but they're not selling it. They're just playing the game. It
doesn't matter. You can't just do something like... You can't use, like, WWE... If they have like an entrance theme music, like you can't just, even if they're not selling it, you can't just put that into your music and like use that. Like they're going to give you a cease and desist. You can't just use music, even if WWE hasn't played that music in 20 years. If they own it, you can't just mix that into your songs or videos and use it.
If I can jump in real quick here, kind of an update that I'm reading as I'm going back through. Basically, one thing to note is that the DMCA notices are unlikely from Sony or MarkScan. They think it might be YouTube algorithms that are doing it. So just take that with a grain of salt as it relates to it. But to Alex's point, if you still own an IP, it still becomes your responsibility to protect that IP. A number of years ago, you remember the creator of Minecraft made a game called Scrolls? And it basically started a legal battle between him and Bethesda. Bethesda was suing him for the use of the name Scrolls because there was a trademark on it. And it was an automatic trigger that Bethesda had to sue him. Otherwise, they lose the patent or the trademark or whatever it was. Like sometimes companies are left without a choice. But putting that in there, back to you, Alex. Just as an aside.
I was listening to the Jim Cornette podcast, and they were talking about a rapper who's gone on Twitter, who was talking about he was such a big fan of theirs, and he mixed music from WWE into his raps. He also, apparently one of the things that they've asked him to stop using, issued a cease and desist, is he was using pictures of Virgil and Ted DiBiase, who are, by the way, no longer employed by WWE. Well, Virgil has passed away, but they were telling him, do not use pictures of these two people because likely they own the pictures that were taken, and you can't just use a picture of these people when it's WWE's property. Like you can't mix the theme songs into your song. You also can't use pictures they took that is technically their intellectual property of when those people were working for the WWE. You can't just use things, Tricky, that even if they're not selling it, you just can't use somebody else's intellectual property as you like.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Exactly what you were saying. That you're like, well,
hold on. You can't cut me off when I'm trying to correct it.
Okay,
I am not
saying that you are wrong.
I'm not wrong. Because okay, so let me ask you a question. What is the difference of somebody making a server to play Concord than somebody emulating a game? Using an emulator on a PC. They're still playing the game. They're not selling it. They're just playing it. So you have the stance that emulators are fine, but you're not okay with somebody paying money to make a server to play a game that's currently unplayable.
No, Tricky. What I'm saying is if Sony wants to take it down, they have the right to do that. They have the right to say, this is our IP. You can't do this. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying Sony doesn't have that right.
I don't have a personal problem with it. No, but you were arguing, Tricky, that oh, well, they're not selling it, so it's okay. Like, if the company, if Nintendo, like, we've seen some of the shit Nintendo's done, they're going to protect their intellectual property. I don't have a problem if people are doing this, but I'm just saying Sony might have an issue with this because I guarantee Concord is and Firewalk in general, is a very salty, like, very much a very, still a gaping wound that they're trying to heal at Sony. because of how much money they lost on that game, and then all of a sudden the servers come back and people are playing it. You don't think people are going to take umbrage with that? It's Sony.
I'm not.
Whether it's pet.
My argument's not that Sony doesn't have a right to do this. I'm not saying Sony doesn't have a right to do this at all. I'm saying, in my opinion, if people want to make a server and play the game, I feel like Sony should just shut up because they hyped this game up, they built this game up, and then 2 weeks or 3 weeks after they launched, it was taken down, and I think it may went back up a little bit. I don't know if it ever went back up. I'm just saying Sony has a right to do what they want with their IP. Not an argument there. I'm saying personally, if somebody wants to make a personal server and pay for it so they can play Concord, I don't fucking have a problem with it. That's all I'm saying.
Except the problem is, like Matt said, you have to protect your intellectual property, and they could at some point make something of this game. They could use characters from the game. They could use assets from it. So if you can use something in the future, do you want it out there, out of your control, on servers created by something and maintained by somebody else?
I'm not talking about a server I'm talking about a server just to play the game. I'm not talking about
Tricky. And what I'm saying is, you can make something of that IP, and these companies tend to want to control that IP very closely. So if you want to do something with that IP in the future, or if you just don't want it out there, don't want people playing it, because honestly, if people are out there playing it, it's kind of a reminder of their fuck up, then shut it down, or give them the notice. Because honestly, I would understand if Sony's like, man, this is a real black eye for us. We really fucked up. We don't want people playing this because it reminds everybody that we fucked up. It's bad PR.
Okay. You two have been going at it. Yield, do you have any input?
Bravo to the devs for finding a workaround and getting it out there. But I'm not surprised that now that Sony hears about it, they're like, hey, knock it off.
But also, how much of this is salt from Firewalk? Like the devs. Like, oh, you want to shut us down? Well, fuck you, and we're going to make this playable.
There's probably a lot of salt.
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't understand, but like, did they do this out of the goodness of their hearts, or did they do this because they want to get back at Sony?
I think they did this because they want people to play the game they worked years on.
Well,
I would have to agree with Tricky in that case.
Okay, but could you not argue then make a game that people want to play?
Maybe they didn't have that control. Maybe
Ouch.
I mean,
maybe this was Jim. Maybe this wasn't the game they wanted to make, but were forced to by Jim Ryan. And now they're like,
remember,
well, shit, we spent fucking years making this game. Let fucking people play the game. That's I'd feel the exact same way. If I spent fucking years of my life creating something, and then it's taken out of my hands, and people are told, no, you can't do this, or if I work so hard to make fucking episode 700 of this podcast, the best show we've ever done, and then Apple and Google and Spotify, they all turn around and say, no, fuck you, we're not going to host your podcast anymore. I'd be pissed, and I'd find a way to get that show out to every single person that wants to listen to it, because I worked hard to do that. That's my fault. They fucking spent years of their life doing something, and it was taken out of their hands, and because whatever reason Sony said, nope, we're shutting this shit down, I'd be salty as fuck as well.
Well, you also don't know how much creative control that Sony exercised over this project. They may not have. They may have let them just rock. Remember, this game, I believe, was in development before Sony bought Firewalk, and Sony bought Firewalk because of it. And let's be real, Firewalk took the money. They absolutely could have said, and as long as they were financially viable, they could have said, hey, no, we're going to stay independent, we're going to get this game out. They took the fucking money. They didn't have any problem with that.
Or do you remember when Concord was announced, how the first half of the trailer, everybody thought this was a great fucking game, and then everybody groaned when they found out it was a 5v5 shooter? Maybe it wasn't a 5v5 shooter at the start, and Jim Ryan turned around and said, nope, everybody's got to do a 5x5.
But you're like, again, here's these segments where Tricky's like, well, I've got no evidence, but my opinion is this.
Well,
so
you have no evidence. You have no evidence to say this Firewalk had creative control.
You don't know that. You don't know how much creative control.
I've got an interesting question for all this, because this is a lot of effort for devs to go through. You remember that after launch, there were a grand total of 53 people playing Concord according to Steam database. My question is, how many people are actually trying to engage and play this game at this point? You know, a dozen, half dozen?
Okay. Again, I have no evidence on this, but I would argue and say there's probably, I'm not going to say like thousands, but there's probably a good number of people that want to play it just because of the mysterious, not the mysterious behind it, I don't know the right word, but they want to go against the system. Well, fuck you. You're not gonna let me play it. I'm gonna find a way to play it. I don't. Again, and this is not a shot at PC, but when you come to us and you say Steam's got this many people playing on Steam, and that game is also released on other consoles, I never take that number seriously because it's not an accurate description of how many people actually play in the game. Because
you're right. Sometimes it's better because look at Helldivers 2, where PC saved the entire franchise at that point.
I'm not saying like the numbers are like ludicrous, but I'm just saying like if you got 52 people playing Concord on the PC, I think it's fairly accurate to say there's probably not that many playing on PlayStation. But when I see the things like, oh, this game only charted this many people, but I'm like, yeah, but how many people are actually playing on the PlayStation? How many people playing on an Xbox? We'll never get those numbers, and because I don't think there's a way to track those numbers.
Xbox.
Huh?
Nobody's playing on Xbox.
Well, no, I'm saying like your example of Helldivers. Like, you go into a Steam chart right now, you can see how many people are actively playing Helldivers right now. But we'll never get how many people are actively playing on the PlayStation right now. How many people are actually actively playing on an Xbox right now? We'll never have those numbers because unless I'm wrong and there's a way to track that.
Well, when you go into the game, it'll tell you the total number of people playing, and since it's cross play, you know how many people are playing on all formats. But broken down.
Unless they turn off crossplay.
They're not going to do that though.
You can go into the game and turn off crossplay, right?
I've never thought that was an option, but could be wrong.
Yeah, well, most games I know when I know you could do it in Rocket League. I know you could do it in some other games. Yeah, you turn off crossplay. But anyway, the point
we've got on. Yeah, dude, we've already covered.
Yeah,
everything on this. So I
also want to say you were gonna skip.
Chaos said
no.
Black Chaos says that's an option in a lot of games.
Yeah. All right. Point being is, folks, if you really want to play Concord, especially on PC, there's people out there making custom servers. Just a heads up. Next on the news slate is Sony says Destiny 2 sales and user engagement had not reached what it expected when it bought Bungie. Good job, Jimmy Ryan. Coming from the Game Post, basically it's just a whole article talking about, well, we bought Destiny 2 for $3.6 billion, and they haven't met our expectations. So just more shitting on Bungie news. I don't know if there's much for us to talk about that we have said before. So I'll just open the floor to anybody who has any additional comments on this fiasco.
Maybe don't buy a game when it's so late, or buy a studio and expect that game to do, those sales to keep ballooning when that game clearly is later in its lifespan or so far out in its lifespan. Like, who wouldn't have guessed that Destiny 2 would eventually, popularity would die down? What genius wouldn't be able to see that?
I when Sony bought Bungie, I was like, why? Because Bungie went from being an Xbox game or Xbox studio to independent. Like, something was off with that company for a long time, and Sony paying that much money, I questioned it at the time, and as this news comes out, it just makes me feel more sure of like why Sony even bought them, because Bungie's not even a PlayStation studio. Like, it's in limbo. Like, what is Bungie to Sony? They own them, yes, but they're not part of the family? That's still weird to me.
Oh, I'm sure they will be at some point. I mean, with Pete Parsons leaving, I would at some point assume that Sony's like, hey, and they're out there pointedly saying that this game didn't deliver what we thought it was going to be. I absolutely believe they're going to absorb them.
I don't know. They want to stay independent, but they want to be owned by Sony. Like that's
I think at this point, Sony would argue you've lost that right. But I could be wrong about that. But I would fully assume that if Sony does not fully absorb them, at least the option is given to Bungie to buy themselves out or rebuy the company. But I can't imagine that this is going to continue the way things have gone and Sony not just completely take it over if they still actually own it.
Yield.
Lightning has not striken twice. It's time to move on.
Alrighty. Next article, Tricky. This one was for you because I know how much you've harped on this in the past. But basically, Nintendo did a firmware update, and after they did this on the Switch 2, a number of people started complaining that their third-party Switch docks stopped working. And, a lot of people, again, like Tricky, have been railing on Nintendo, and rightfully so, in many aspects, saying that you're limiting third-party access. Video games were built on a third-party support platform. Look at games themselves, much less, everybody remember Mad Catz? So this article came... Mad Catz was great. You always gave player 2 the Mad Catz controller, though. You never gave him the first-party controller. Anyway, Nintendo wrote after, and they confirmed with Tom's Hardware, which is this article coming from, that it didn't intend on blocking the use of legal third-party docks with the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think anybody knows what the legal version of a Switch 2 dock is. But there was a YouTuber, Austin St. John, who covers a lot of Nintendo news, and he even went out there and confirmed that once some of the dock makers updated the firmware on their docks, it actually made them work again with the Switch 2 system. So some got permanently bricked, others just needed a quick firmware update. And again, the number of people complaining that it actually stopped working is unconfirmed, but obviously the internet being what it is, you can only believe what people put out. So, Tricky, we'll go to you first, since you've been one of the biggest proponents and outspoken voices on Nintendo's limiting factors here.
I don't want to. I'm going to say it, but them coming out and said we had no intention to do this, I don't believe that 1 second. They had every intention of doing this. They can make more money by not allowing third-party stuff to go to the system. There's no way they didn't do this intentionally. Sorry.
So then what would it behoove them to lie? Why wouldn't they just come out and say, yeah, we did it. Go buy a legal dock?
Because you could turn around and say, we had no intention to do this, and they still look like the good guys. Meanwhile, saying, well, we didn't mean to do this, but there's no solution. And you said there was a solution, and that's good, but I think Nintendo tried to do this, and they came out and said, no, we had no intention to do this. So they still look like the good guys. But then they can come back and say, well, we have no solution for you, so you're going to have to, if you need another dock, you have to get one of ours.
Yield.
I got nothing.
All right, Alex.
Well, the wording of legal third-party docks is kind of like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
is it just kind of a convenient excuse to you're not sad this happened, but like we've got to come out with a reason now as to why this happened. Honestly, if the company had its druthers, I absolutely think that third-party companies would go out of business and you would have to buy Nintendo branded stuff. I just don't believe that Nintendo or these other companies really want to play ball with third-party companies. Now, you really can't. I'm assuming there's, legal reasons and, antitrust monopoly stuff that prevents, allows third-party companies to exist. but I also don't know what power Nintendo and these other companies had to shut those companies out. You know, under the auspices of protecting their own IP, protecting their consoles. So, but yeah, it's just the way they word it gives you pause. You know, it's like you're telling me you've got. I'm not really accusing Nintendo of anything, but you have all these engineers. You know, you would assume best in the world engineers, and you know, any company, whether it be Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo, putting out these firmware updates. You know, making sure they don't break people's consoles, break their controllers, what have you. And you're telling me that you unknowingly release something that is bricking third-party docks, like who knows? Maybe it was accidental, but just there is enough here from Nintendo, knowing how they do business and just knowing companies in general and how they seemingly would love to shut out third parties, to look twice at it, to give them the double take. Like, you know, you really, I mean, I think people will give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt, but I also think that, you know, I don't fully trust that Nintendo had, you know, that they're, that, I don't want to say it was part of the plan, but I just don't fully, like, there's enough, you know, smoke there from Nintendo to the way they said things, the way they reacted, that I'm like, well, was this actually an accident, or you know, is this something you tried to get away with that you didn't get away with? I don't know. It's a very, you got to toe the line. You got to be careful because you don't want to just accuse them outright of something. But man, like it doesn't. People, yeah, I've said all. I'm going to talk myself in circles, but I just don't fully trust what Nintendo says, honestly, and that goes for any company that would say this. I just don't trust it.
And I'll throw my 2 cents in there. You all know that on this podcast, I'm the Nintendo fanboy. But I will say, in this case, do I think Nintendo did this update and is altruistic in there? Well, we didn't mean for. Well, yeah, no, Nintendo. You know exactly what was going to happen. So, as a result, you are backpedaling. I'm going to call a spade a spade. That being said, third party is always a concern. I don't use a third party dock because Nintendo might brick it or something might happen. You know, it's always, there has not been a developer or hardware manufacturer ever that has said, yeah, go ahead and use a third party. You'll be fine. No, because they'll always claim that your use of a third party device bricked their console or broke their warranty. So that's always a thing that will happen. And
It was outside your end user licensing agreement, your EULA.
Yeah, they'll say that you're only supposed to use first party peripherals because we can't. It's just like a car manufacturer. You bring your engine in for a check engine light and you say, well, that's a warranty, and they say, well, no, you put a cold air intake. That's not manufacturer spec. You need your warranty's void. Like everybody does this. This is not unique to console manufacturers.
Basically, Nintendo's way of saying, or any company would say, oh, well, you know, we can't control any, you know, any harm that comes to your console or whatever from using and also connectivity to that, your games. We can't control anything negative that happens because of these third party, you know, goods.
Yeah.
We can't control that. We can't vouch for that. So basically use at your own risk if you can use it.
Yeah. And that is our main news articles for the week. Tricky, hit the music.
Oh, hold on. It's not working.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
You know, if you asked Joe Priestley, I think he would say it was working just fine.
It's working now.
Well, Tricky put up a post for some questions this week. And they both have to deal with the announcement and our topic of the week, the Steam Machine and a bunch of other Valve's announcements for this week. So I don't know if we want to hit these questions now or just go right into our topic of the week.
I'll leave it up to the boys.
Would it be better to, if they're all connected to it, would it be better to answer them, come back to them after you have shared the news?
Let's do that.
Yeah, because I have no idea what Valve did, so that would be good.
All right. So announced this week.
Topic of the week. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt. Thanks for adding those few seconds back in, Tricky.
I didn't touch it.
Oh, bullshit. We all know. Oh, yeah.
I didn't touch it.
Nintendo's legal third-party docs. Like, this is your legal third-party docs right here.
You can go back and listen to past episodes and time it. I have not touched it.
Well, we can't trust you because you added seconds before, Tricky. You can do it again.
That was Garrett's idea, and that lasted 6 weeks. That lasted 6 weeks
under the bus.
And you lasted 6 weeks before you guys even noticed.
You know what? It's gonna be. I get a stopwatch on my phone. I'll do that. I'll go back and listen.
Good. And then next week, come on here and you say I'm sorry.
Care. You know what I'm going to continue to do? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to continue every week to complain that you either put too much time in or you didn't put enough time in.
Okay, because that's all you like to do is complain.
That's why we work so well together, Trickies, because we just love to complain.
This week, Valve announced 3 new pieces of hardware that excited the gaming sphere. The first one probably... seeing as how Valve has always had a trouble counting to 3, the fact that they made 3 hardware announcements in a single week has a lot of people thinking maybe another 3 announcement will be coming soon.
Oh, come on, Matt. Everyone knows Half-Life is better in 2s.
You shut your whore mouth.
I was going to see if I could get a reaction.
You did.
Got you good, chicken fucker.
The first of the 3 announcement, probably the most inane, was... Could I go on without getting interrupted? We good? Thank you.
Straight from his fucking keyboard or whatever.
The first announcement is a new version of the Steam controller, which has the touchpads from the Steam Deck, has the traditional thumbsticks, and they are advertised as higher tech than your standard thumbsticks found in a lot of devices these days. They're magnetized or some technology, I forget what the term is, but should avoid some stick drift. So that is the one thing, and it's a very blocky looking joystick, so I'm not sure how well it's going to be taken in the grand scheme of things. But it has all the features of the higher end controllers, including some back buttons, capacitive touch sensors on the thumbsticks, as well as the back of the controller. And it's got rumble built in, all sorts of high end features. And it also has a magnetic charging dock, so you don't have to plug in a USB-C. It just clicks to the back, so much less wear and tear on a USB port. So that's one thing. And I should say none of these have prices, so take this all with that in mind. They also announced the Steam Frame, which is a set of VR goggles with a lot of technology in them that I guess are meant to replace the Steam Index. The Index was an outside-in VR setup where you have to have like the satellites put up. But the Steam Frame is meant to pair perfectly with your PC games, with some capabilities to do some gaming directly from the headset, but mostly streaming from your PC. There's a lot of tech in it, and I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but it's pretty goddamn impressive what they have. And then finally, probably the most exciting announcement is the Steam Machine, something about half the size, literally, of an Xbox Series X. It is coming in as a Linux-based version of a PC. It runs the same, basically, OS as the Steam Deck, meaning that you'll get access to many of your Steam library games. It comes in a 512 gigabyte and a 2 terabyte model, both with expandable storage via micro SD, just like the Steam Deck. No giant power brick is what they're advertising, but it's going to be a CPU and GPU model, meaning that both the processing is done via the CPU and GPU model as one. There's a fancy LED strip, and of course, Dbrand has already put out that they are making the companion cube skin for the Steam machine.
Oh wait, that was true.
Expected. Yes, the brand is literally coming out with that.
I put that up there as a joke.
Yes, no, that's the brand for you. So basically, it's a lot of hardware that they announced. And the last time they released hardware was the Steam Deck. And before that, the Steam Index. Now, a number of years ago, they did partner with Dell and I think Alienware to put out Steam machines where they just provided the software and Dell went out there and made the hardware. And unfortunately, they failed pretty bad. Obviously, it led them down a different path. But the purpose behind this machine is to make an easy to use PC that hooks up to your TV, could still hook up to your monitor. It's got both an HDMI as well as a display port on the back, USB, wireless, Bluetooth for your controllers. It's got everything you need, and it doesn't take up half of your damn entertainment center. So, all that said, our questions first this week, Will saying, what do you predict the price of the Steam machine will be? And are any of y'all buying it day one? And why is the Steam machine gay? Because Will doesn't seem to enjoy the idea of digital preservation. He prefers physical discs that, eventually rot and stop working. And then Roberto writes in and says, the GameCube has the capacity to be a real game changer and potentially knock Xbox out of the competition. What are your thoughts on the ambitious piece of hardware? So, Yield, I know you probably have the least knowledge of this, but what do you think about Steam trying to get in on the quote-unquote console market with a user-friendly PC that runs a lot of your Steam library?
Well, any addition into the gaming race is a good one because competition is good for the consumer. So I view it as a positive. Microsoft is probably really happy because that's something else that can play their library since they bring all their stuffs on PC anyway. So I don't know. Like I said, I view it as a positive. And I don't see them pushing Microsoft out of business. Not at all.
I will say this. Also, the system is designed to produce 4K 60 FPS experience. However, that is an upscale from a lower resolution. So they are using some form of AMD's FSR technology. But that is kind of the big catch of it. Since it's a small box, it's not like a regular PC. You're not going to be able to upgrade it. Some people will be able to get in and probably update the storage for it. But for this, the same question to everybody will be for the 512 gigabyte version. Yield, what do you think the price would be on something like this?
Honestly, I don't know. We're probably starting at $500 since that's what the 5 is.
Okay.
So that would be my guess. I was getting ready to say before you went on that. I look at this as possibly one of the reasons I never got into PC gaming was for the fact of you always had to upgrade your system. The latest and greatest game comes out. Well, I got to upgrade my computer so I can play it because, it doesn't do it anymore. This kind of seems like an answer to those people who, I can't PC game because it's a constant expense. So, but we'll just have to see what that expense is.
And the catch there is, you make a console and you have to make any developer that makes a game for that console has to meet certain specifications. When you're making a PC game, you have to make it for a lot of different specifications. So as a result, this tends to run out of runway as newer PC games come out. However, and this is the argument I say, it gives you access to a ton of older games. Break out your PS5, unless you're paying for PS Plus Premium, go try to play a PS3 game or a PS2 game or a PS1 game. On a PC, you have access to a lot of older games without even worrying about compatibility first and foremost. And if you do run into a game with compatibility issues, there's ways around that. So yeah, you're saying $500. Tricky, what do you think about this announcement as well as the price?
The fact that this is doubling as a PC kind of like worries me because, like you pointed out, it's gonna be hard to upgrade components within it outside of storage. So, how long until certain things, like right now it says the Steam machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps or even another operating system because it is running off of Linux, correct?
Yes.
Right. So, as far as putting Microsoft out of business, if you're able to download your own operating system, which essentially means you can download your Xbox games to it, I don't see Microsoft going out of business, so to speak, or getting out of the gaming market. I think Xbox for a long time has been wanting to get out of the hardware side of it and just focus on the software. Take the Sega route. I would gather $6.99 to $7.99 off the start, and that's for the 512, 516. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And for the 2 terabyte, I say you're pushing closer to $1,300.
So I'll say this. Do those prices kill it immediately on arrival? Because you can go out and get a PS5 Pro for less than that.
See, that's tough to answer because the PC gaming side of things is crazy. I mean, like Yul pointed out, like one of the reasons why he didn't get into the PC gaming market is because you constantly have to upgrade. But you get your PC game enthusiasts, they go out and they spend, $1,000 on the new video card or something like that. So I don't know if the price necessarily locks it out, but the price definitely is a scare factor in this, especially if it's true that you cannot upgrade your certain things. If the only thing you could upgrade is your storage, and according to their page, it comes with expandable storage via micro SD. I don't know. It's weird because you get the PC gamers that are diehards and they go out and they spend the money, but then you're gonna get the casual people that be like, this is way too much money and I can't upgrade it. It's wild to even speculate that.
Okay. Alex, same questions to you.
So there are a couple reasons I see this thing, and I'm not saying it's going to be not going to be successful, but reasons why I don't see this thing pushing Microsoft out. I think if anyone's going to push Microsoft out, it's going to be Microsoft. Well, that or Sony, because Sony really has been their main competition, and so Microsoft has undoubtedly made decisions because of stuff that Sony's done, Sony's machines, Sony's games. But the problem with this machine is it's called the Steam machine, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The thing that I see as the issue with the Steam machine is, most people, I would say, would call these mainstream. The Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, Xbox, all that branding is probably mainstream because they've been around for so long. Steam's not mainstream. There are, yes, like people who podcast about video games, people who play on PC, Steam is widely known, but I wouldn't say that Steam itself is mainstream. And for that reason, there's only so much of an audience you can reach with the Steam machine. And beyond that, I feel like the people who most benefit from the Steam machine are the people who already use Steam, who have, we talked about, Matt, how that you can play your library on it, or at least a large portion of your library, benefits people who already have a Steam library. If you're a brand new user, you don't have a library to use yet unless you pay for a bunch of games day one, so that doesn't help you. But also, are people who play on PC who already have a massive Steam library who maybe have a Steam Deck or maybe just play on PC and spend all their money on this PC, are they going to just all of a sudden drop it and buy this console? Or at least also buy this console?
So, interestingly enough, a report that came out that said 90% of Steam Deck owners already had a Steam account, meaning they already had a library ready to go.
Yes, because that's obviously a massive, nobody, I think that there's very few the number of people who bought a Steam Deck who didn't already have a Steam library and weren't playing on PC at some point. So I think that, again, I'm not saying it can't be successful, but I think the audience you have to sell to is very much restricted to the people who are already on Steam. And how many of them want to have a PC to play on and maybe a Steam Deck and a Steam machine, And I don't see a lot of people giving up the PlayStation or giving up the Xbox. I mean, who knows? Maybe people will be more willing to convert from Xbox to the Steam machine. But the people who already play on consoles, yes, making it more easily usable for everyday people is a good thing. Making it so that it's not as expensive over its lifetime to maintain as a PC is great. But I just think that it's going to be you're not going to get Nintendo and Sony users jumping to buy this. I just think that their audience is going to be the people who already are heavy Steam users. And how many of them are going to buy it? I mean, go ahead.
No, so you bring up a good point. And again, the article kind of proves it, saying most people already have one are owners of the Steam library. And for me personally, I look at this and I go, well, this is obviously right up my alley because I already have a mini PC hooked up to my main TV right now. You could take take a 2x2x3 rectangle of the Steam Deck, or the Steam machine, I should say. And that's the same size as my mini PC. Being able to just have something this small, or even people who want to get into PC gaming that say, I've got a budget of $1,000. What can I build? Well, you can't build a great gaming PC for $1,000 these days. You could build a decent one, but definitely you're going to be making some sacrifices. For Valve to come out here and make this and make it available to everybody, and there's going to be parents out there who are like, oh, my son wants to build a PC. Well, here you go. You can just get a Steam machine and it's a PC for you. I think to your point, Alex, of it's going to be marketed towards people who already have Steam. Yes, absolutely true. But I also think there's going to be enough of an interest in people who want to get into PC gaming but don't want to deal with all the BS that we normally do, whether it's driver updates or parts or pieces that need to be swapped out. Also, like all of you said, I don't think this is pushing Microsoft. It's certainly not pushing Nintendo or Sony out, but providing another PC avenue. And like Yield said, Xbox might actually like this, because if somebody's smart enough and they know how to install their own OS on it, they can just install the Xbox Game Pass system right on that system. Also, on the Steam Deck, you could already do that, where you put xCloud on the Steam Deck through third-party commands. So anybody who knows how to do it can do it.
I know I seem I don't want my commentary to seem so negative, so I do hope this succeeds, because I think this is a good thing. And I think people will be, very happy with it, and what it tends to do, I think is great. I think it's very smart. The rumored prices for the Xbox console that's coming out next generation, I haven't looked too much into that, because again, it's just rumors. But if any of you come across that as like a rumored price for,
we're being told that it's going to be expensive.
We don't have a number, just expensive?
No, just expensive.
Okay.
Wait, to be clear, you asking for the rumored price of the new Xbox, or the new rumored price of the Steam machine?
The Xbox.
Oh, I heard close to $1,000.
Okay, because I was gonna say that I can't imagine this thing tops out beyond $1,000.
Well,
because if you're trying to make it, and I know Matt said, to make a good PC these days, even for that price, it'd be really hard to do. But for something that you're trying to make more usable for an audience who typically, has traditionally played on consoles, and you want to try to convert some of those people in addition to whoever, who already has a Steam account, having it $1,000 itself is going to be quite a bit, but you go above that, you're killing off probably anybody who would want to convert from a console because yeah, you're making it easier to buy a PC, but you're not making it any cheaper. So, or slightly cheaper. So if people already didn't want to get to a PC, not just like, now or 10 years ago or 5 years ago because it was too expensive, over $1,000 in the next year or the year after that would definitely still be too expensive. So, I mean, they do have to be aware of that you're trying to get a new audience and you're trying to make things easier to use. Well, you're also going to have to accept that whatever people are willing to pay for that is going to be less than, typically anything around what a PC would cost. Because to be fair, home consoles have traditionally been much cheaper than a PC and maintain a PC. And so that's going to have to come along with the expectation when it comes to the price.
I also don't think they're expecting to sell numbers anywhere close to what a Sony or a Nintendo does. Valve is, I think, realistic on what they're going to be doing.
No, and like I said, because they're not mainstream and won't be mainstream, it takes years and years to get traction. I wouldn't expect that either. But it all comes down to how much did it cost to make this, and how much are you going to make back in return to make it worth your while?
Well, they seem to have done well with the Steam Deck, but that goes back to pricing. So, Alex, did you give a price estimate on what you think the Steam machine will be?
Honestly, I think the range is going to be $500 to $1,000. $1,000 for the top end, $500 for the. Actually, would they double the price? I'll say 600 and. I'll say 600 and 800.
So, I will say this. Currently,
Tell me I'm a fucking idiot.
No.
They can't play prices or they can't play.
I want to give perspective.
Well, Matt, before you do that, I just had a question for you before I forget to ask you. Do you think the hype for the Steam machine is more or less because we have access to the Steam Deck? The fact that people can play their Steam games on the go compared to now this is going to be locked into one room.
So, I'm just going to go into that with my next question, but the thing that you're asking is, I think the Steam Deck proved that Linux gaming is not just a possibility, but it's an everyday occurrence now. That just because you're using a Linux-based system doesn't mean you're losing out on all the games that you have. So when I talk about pricing, the 512 gigabyte OLED Steam Deck is $550. Now, take the control system, take the screen out of that, and you're left with the box that plays the game. At that point, it's an updated hardware architecture, meaning it's a newer processor, newer GPU, newer RAM, all that stuff. That's why I think take out the controller and take out the screen on a system like that, I think you're looking at a sub $500 piece of hardware for the Steam machine.
Really?
Yes, because take an OLED screen that they use in the Steam Deck, that's easily a $60 to $70 markup. The controller system in there is also probably $60 to $70. The Steam controller, the original Steam controller was $50 on release. And since when people weren't buying it, it went on discount heavily. The Steam controller 2 is going to probably be $80 to $100. I'll call it there. But the Steam machine, just a box that plays games and is a PC, I think is going to be sub $500. In order for them to be competitive, they need to be below $500. I am saying it's not going to be above $600. But I truly think the 512 version is going to be sub $500, and then the 2 terabyte version is going to be $550 or more.
Well, there goes my chance to go on Price is Right and play in the Showcase Showdown.
What'd you say, 500? 501, Bob.
I started with 500, and then I went to 600. Because I didn't want there to be so much of a gap between the 512 and then the 2 terabytes. So I
You know what? I'm actually gonna drop down because I said the 2 terabyte. I said what? I said what? 12, 13?
You said 12, 1300, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna lower that because if the only difference is storage, then I said the 512 was what $799.
6 to 7, I think you said.
Yeah,
Maybe
all right.
even 8.
So I'll say the 2 terabytes less than $1,000. Because if the only difference is storage, and nowadays you can get fairly cheap storage, yeah, I'll go sub 1,000 for the 2 terabyte. But I still think the 512 is going to be $699, $799, somewhere around there.
Okay. So, I mean, again, the system will give players access to the library, not just the latest releases, though it'll play a fair amount of releases currently. I mean, hell, I can play Silent Hill F on my Steam Deck at about 40 frames a second right now, which the game just came out and the Steam Deck is now 4 or 5 years old. Like, come on. I think the Steam machine is going to give access to a lot of people, especially younger children who want to get into PC gaming, but don't want to ask mom and dad for all the money to build a custom PC. And I think it's going to put a challenge to custom PC builders like I Build PC and all those other companies.
Chaos is saying
So
Chaos is saying $499 for the 512.
Okay. And I think at $499, it really has a chance out there. Now, especially considering you have Sony who keeps raising the price on their freaking PS5. And I think we're going to see a price raise on the Switch 2 in the next year or so. So I don't know. But that's our topic of the week. Be on the lookout for Steam hardware. I obviously will be trying to get at least the Steam machine probably day one. I might hold off on the Steam frame. See how long my MetaQuest 3 works.
One question before we actually wrap this up. How many people do you think is going to have the problem they're going out and buy the Steam machine thinking it's an actual PC and finding out that it's a Steam, a portal for, not a portal, but it's a machine for Steam games and you got to do all this extra work. How many people do you think are going to buy this thinking it's an actual PC? How many parents and stuff like that?
Well, here's the thing. With the Steam Deck, you had to have a Steam account to be able to buy it. This is only going to be available through Steam, first and foremost. Which means
this isn't going to the stores?
Not yet. I mean, eventually the Steam Deck came to places like GameStop or other third-party sellers, but Valve has a very tight control on it to make sure to combat scalpers, to combat supply and demand. So they obviously went out on third-party partnerships before with Dell, and that didn't work out for them. So I think that just like the Steam Deck, they're going to hold a little bit closer to their chest and kind of control the supply.
Okay. All right. Any final comments before we close out the show, guys? I'll take that as a no. Yield your shout out, sir.
Shout out to Matt, Alex, and Tricky for recording tonight. Shout out to all of you, the pimps and the madams of the whoredom, for listening, downloading, hanging out with us. Shout out to those of you who were in the live stream chat. And yeah, that's it. Short and sweet.
All right, Alex.
Give a shout out to the listeners, the fans, the fuel to the fire of this Trophy Horrors, our awesome community. Thank you all for listening, for continuing to spread the word, for your engagement, for your questions, for everything. You guys are awesome and truly are the reason that we continue to do this every single week. Barring all the times we got to take a night off because of life. But yeah, you know what I mean. Give a shout out to my co-host Tricky, Matt, and Yield, as well as a shout out to our resident artist. Thank you for our thumbnail and banner images for Proven Gamer. Will, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. And yeah, that's gonna do me for tonight.
And Matt.
Thank you, gents, for hosting tonight.
Thank
you to MZ and Black Chaos. No, thank you, Alex.
Don't you start this with me.
Thank you to Black Chaos and MZ for being in chat. Thanks to Roberto and Will for your questions. Thank you to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to check out channel3.gg for some gamified social media. And thank you to V for everything that you do.
And want to give a shout out to everybody that joined me during the extra live stream. There was a couple of you. I forget who you are at this point because it's been a week and I was really tired and I forgot to write down names. I think Extra Life has raised $9 million so far this year. Donations still going to the end of the year, so please pop on over to my page, tinyurl.com/TrickyMick2025 and get your donation in there if you can. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to be live streaming more Ghost of Yote as I play it. Trying to work towards that platinum. I am about halfway through the game, I think. A little less than half. But I've been doing a lot of side quests, which is probably going to be what I'm doing after the show. Shout out to Matt, Alex, and Yield. Thank you guys for showing up and recording once again. Shout out to Sweet Mama D. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
See ya.
The theme song is Venus by the band Eden off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/EdenPhilippines.